Okay, so right now I'm going to talk a little bit about the British Columbia government. When did the government step in to regulate with our security industry in for the private licensing guards? Okay, so let's basically talking about security. What kind of security work they are? What kind of related of security work, like doing patrolling and doing lots of customer service uh, jobs in relation in this uh, security position. Now, I want to show you some little bit history of how the private security taking over by the government, basically issuing you a training and a licensing system. All right, so I want to show you some collection I have over the years. I've been teaching this topics, and I collect lots of this type of history materials. Now you see this magazines. This is a BC business magazines back in 1976. All right, so that's quite a long time, right? 1976. So when we talk about 1976, well, we're talking about like 50, 60 years ago. How this industry had been revolved right from that time. In fact, I'm going to talk about a little bit about back in World War II, how did that kind of come about, World War II and into 1976, and from 1976 when we need to have the government training in regarding to get a security worker license. All right, so in these magazines, you can basically see this gentleman, older folks, as far as when I was young, back in 1976, and most of the security personnel, they were a little bit, nearly retirement. Okay, so I can show you with this picture, and you can basically see. And they were using lots of security dogs in helping out their patrolling. And this is another photo in these magazines, and this is the a lot of a few personnel in security and showing and demonstrate their force in the park of Queen Elizabeth Park in BC, in Vancouver. So this is very interesting for some of you have been are living in Vancouver or just visiting in the province. And this basically is a little bit history of at that time in the private security industry. Now, there are two cases, in very famous cases in BC, that kind of trigger the government look at, all these private security guards. They ask themselves, have they been trained before they get their licensing? The answer is no. They have no training or no governing training into this particular field of work in private security. Now, I want to show you one case, which is this particular one, okay, in a court case. And this go back in 1973, approximately. Okay, now this 1976 with the picture I show you. Now, 20 years later, around approximately 1993, this case was about a judge, okay, find these security guards were guilty of negligence, of using more or less like excessive force. Excessive force can be related to deadly force into a client, okay? And this security guard was basically working in the apartment buildings and was evicting a person. The person was a drunk person and making a big scenes because the girlfriend living in the apartment refused to see him, and he was, kicking the door and so forth. So this private security guards were doing his job and went there and respond to that situation, and the physical confrontation had been occur. And again, keep that in mind. All this at that time, the private security will not have no formal training in both the law, which is very important, in order to what kind of force they could able to use in order to do their jobs. And that's very important issues. And in fact, that's a very dangerous issues. If you are just put in the field in doing security, doing patrolling, and so forth, and have no idea what the law permits you to use. So that time, at this particular security guard, in this case, um, he put this person into a head hold. Basically, that's called the restrained neck restraints hold, which is a policing. In police, they are allowed to use that, and in security, well, it's a big question mark. Do they allow to use that? Because that's considered to be excessive force. Now, the judge find this security guard liable for his death because, in fact, he killed him holding his neck for a little bit too long. Now, sometimes it's very hard to kill a person, and you can see a lot of fights right around the streets, and it's so hard to UFC tells you many of the training is very hard to put a person down. And on the other hand, it's very easy to kill a person. So our life is very fragile in many senses. So anyway, this security guard had killed him, and again, at the end, he is liable to give the awards to the death. Obviously, the person that died have a family, and they sue the security company and the security guard for $250,000. Now, keep that in mind. 1996 or 1993, around that time, $250,000 may be equivalent to here, maybe $500,000. So that's a big issue for the government. Okay. Then in that 1 or 2 years, another case had came out. This case was a armored car guard. This particular case happened right in Vancouver. Beautiful sunny day, afternoon, downtown, and in this street here, many of you or some of you know the Vancouver area very well. This is downtown Eaton Center in the Pacific Center on that street, which is right in the heart of downtown in Vancouver. When this armored car guard transport the money, getting out the truck and going into the building, and this person suddenly shows up behind the guard and put a gun in his head, drop it. So he did the right thing, right? He didn't touch his gun. He had his hands up and okay, I drop it. You can take it. My life is more important. Now, a split second later, the guy took the money, took the bag, and start running. Okay. Then the guards suddenly turn around and see him running, and guess what he did? He took out his revolver, okay, aimed at his back, and boom, boom, shot him 2 times, okay, nearly killed him, okay, almost killed him, but it really seriously injured him. And this is a photo, okay, of the actual picture of what happened on that afternoon. Now, this particular case really wake up the government and ask themselves and ask the public and ask the ministry who's responsible for the licensing and said, hey, holy mackerel, these guys are, to become a security guard, carry a gun. Are they done any training? The answer was, not really, sir. They have no training at all. Yes, they have some sort of a very basic training of how to handling a gun, how to shoot, couple of rounds, and there you go. And once you're done, now you're ready to carry this firearm and then start doing this work. So that really wakes up the government at that time. Okay, so basically that was 1993. That's 1993, as you can see. Now, I just want to say here, 1993, right in the top, right in the title, and I will give out this news right beside my video, and you definitely will read it in detail. At the beginning, it said the BC security guards will soon be required by law to receive a mandatory training according to the government documents obtained by the province, which is the newspaper doing this particular report. Now, that was the beginning of the government have a great interest in looking in this private security regulatory change in regarding into their training. Now, as any government's level, when they plan to do something, probably took them few years behind the closed door to do the training, to develop a training plan. Well, after a few years, this letter, okay, was written in and sent out to all the security companies at that time, 1997. Okay, again, that was 1993, 1996, and then a couple of years later, the governments already have a well plan to develop this training program for all the people that are interested working in this field. Okay, so this letter have been sent out to all of the security company and stating, okay, in 1996, in June, a security training regulation for security patrol employees, which is the security guards, was implemented. This regulation set out training requirement for licensing. So before anyone want to or wish to interested into the field, first they have to complete a training. Okay, and this training they pass this training, then they are eligible to apply for the license. All right, so just continue to read this, and you will probably read it in detail. The two procedures for qualification were set in place. One for new license applicants effective June the 1st, 1996. The other for licensing renewal applications. So for the ones that have been working in the security, maybe since 1990 or even before that, they already are working. So they give these people for chance to rewrite or challenge the exams without taking the training program. Okay, but for all the new applicants that want to wish to step into the industry for working as a private guard, they need to uh, uh, complete this training. And this training, the regulation was launched to ensure enough time for employees regarding a renewal to obtain a BST1 and BST2. So in this training, they call it Basic Standard Training 1 and Basic Standard Training 2. One have to complete the two type of training program and then write the exams and then pass the exams, and then they could able to get a license, a certificate to complete of this program. Then they will apply for licensing by the government. Okay, so that's basically the basic procedures, and this is written very clear in this letter. So that sets out a standard. Okay, it set a standard in the private security industry in BC at that time. Now, mind you, British Columbia was the first regulations came out to regulate the private security in across Canada. So we were the first one. Okay, and then the Saskatchewan followed, the Saskatchewan basically came to us and bought the whole training program and using that training program as a standard in order for their security guards in the Saskatchewan. And then later on, maybe about 1 or 2 years later, Ontario government, the next one is the biggest province in Canada, they would follow the suit. And then the Alberta and so on and so on. So right now, today, after all these years, if anyone want to wish get into the security industry, they have to get the training requirement and pass the exam, which is most of them is launched by the government. So in BC, in this case, this is by the BC government under the Ministry of Attorney General. Now, in the end, it said all new security patrol applicants will still be required to complete a basic standard training 1 and the basic standard training 2, or be eligible for exemption prior to being licensed a security patrol license. So today, right now, as 2025, we call it a security worker license, BC security worker license. At that time, we call security patrol employees license. Okay, this is basically the same, except the term have been changed a little bit. Now, I want to quickly show you. So once you know the history, you can basically feel very comfortable to move on. How you're gonna achieve, do a good job because you know the history of how this developed, and then as you move in to security management, higher level, or the government level of security, then you have a very good idea in knowing where you're going. So like anything else, when you want to study any subject, the best is you gotta know the history of it, how they evolve, arrive into today. All right, so then this training requirement, the government then go to the police academy, which is the Justice Institute of BC, okay, and to ask them, hey, you have been trained many police officers in your academy. Can you develop a program for us to all of our security industry for the people who want to work as a security guards? So the police academy were very happy to got this contract in partnership with the BC government, and then since then they've been working together until 2025 today. All right. So these are the private security program advertised by the police academy and selling their program to the public, people like you and me. Now, so what are these two BST1 and BST2s about? Okay, so BST1 is basically about general knowledge about patrolling, about basic communications in dealing with your clients, and so forth and so forth. So there's a book which just came out. They wrote this book from the police academy about training. So you can see it's quite thick. Okay, it talks about many subjects in regard about this industry of how to do a job, professionally job in the private security industry. So this is called private security training, and these are the BST1. That's what it looked like. All right. And then the BST2, okay, so you can see this. So again, you can see in the corner of this video. This course is a BST2 is a skill-based course designed to private security guards with the ability to evaluate, diffuse, and control a variety of potentially confrontation or even violence encounters using verbal skills whenever possible, and appropriate physical control tactics where necessary and legally permitted. Now, this BST2 at that time, every security worker uh, want to get a worker license, they have to pass these two programs together in order to apply for the licensing. Now, licensing is very important because licensing is about um, by the government. The government need to check you to see if you are eligible to get license, such as have you have any criminal records before, have you have committed any theft before. That's what they are concerned about. Okay, so training is only part one, and then get your criminal record checked and then you can get your licensing. That is completion of BST 1 and 2, and then the step